Roger and Harry, Part 8. The Return, Chapter 11. Arrival. They walked down to the beach, took off their boots, stood in the water. It was cold, almost painfully so, but they didn't care. They'd walked over 1,000 miles. They'd survived a cult, a meth lab, a robbery, a shooting. They'd made it. "We should turn around now," Roger said. "Yeah," Harry agreed. But neither of them moved. They stood in the water, looking out at the lake, and for the first time in weeks, Roger felt something like peace. It lasted about 5 minutes. "Excuse me?" They turned. A woman stood on the beach behind them. She was maybe 30, wearing a park ranger uniform. "This is a protected area," she said. "No camping allowed. I'm going to have to ask you to leave." Roger looked around. Their tent was visible in the trees behind the beach. Their backpacks were sitting on the sand. "We just got here," Harry said. "I understand, but the rules are clear. There's a campground about 5 miles north. You can stay there." "We've been walking for a month," Roger said. "We just wanted to see the water." "I appreciate that, but I still need you to pack up and move on." They looked at each other. Then they looked at their tent, their packs, the beach, the water. They looked at the ranger with her clipboard and her radio and her official authority. "All right," Roger said. "We're going." They packed up their camp, put their boots back on, shouldered their packs, started walking north along the beach. The ranger watched them go. "This is bullshit," Harry said when they were out of earshot. "Yeah. We walked 1,000 miles and we can't even camp on the beach for one night. Rules are rules. Fuck the rules." They walked in silence. The sun was setting. They needed to find a place to camp before dark. The campground was 5 miles away. They were tired. Their feet hurt. They'd been walking for 31 days straight. "There," Harry said. He pointed to a small peninsula jutting out into the water. Trees covered most of it. It looked isolated, hidden. "The ranger said—" "I don't care what the ranger said. We're camping there." They left the beach and cut through the woods toward the peninsula. It took them 20 minutes to reach it. When they did, they found a small clearing near the water. Perfect. Hidden from the beach, sheltered by trees. They set up their tent, made dinner, sat watching the sun set over the water. "This is nice," Harry said. "Yeah." "Worth it?" Roger thought about it. The blisters, the pain, the cult, the meth lab, the robbery, the shooting, the ranger, all of it. "Yeah," he said. "Worth it." They sat in silence as darkness fell. The water lapped at the shore. Stars came out. For the first time since they'd left, Roger felt like they'd actually accomplished something. They'd set out to walk to the coast, and they'd done it. He was almost asleep when he heard the voices. He sat up. Harry was already awake, listening. The voices were coming from the woods behind them. Multiple people, flashlights bobbing between the trees. "You've got to be fucking kidding me," Harry said. They grabbed their backpacks, left the tent, moved toward the water. The voices got louder. The flashlights got closer. "There! I see their tent!" Roger and Harry ran along the shoreline. The peninsula was small. There was nowhere to go. They reached the end and stopped. Water on 3 sides. Woods on the 4th. The flashlights were coming through the woods. "We could swim," Harry said. "In that? At night? We'd die of hypothermia. So, what do we do?" The flashlights emerged from the trees. 5 people. The ranger from earlier and 4 others. 2 men, 2 women, all wearing uniforms. "I told you to leave," the ranger said. "We did leave," Harry said. "We're just camping somewhere else." "This is still protected land. You're trespassing." "We've been walking for a month," Roger said. "We just want to sleep. We'll leave in the morning." "You'll leave now, and I'm citing you both for trespassing and illegal camping." She pulled out a citation book, started writing. Roger looked at Harry. Harry looked at Roger. They looked at their tent, still set up in the clearing. They looked at the rangers with their flashlights and their citation books and their absolute certainty that they were in the right. "How much is the fine?" Roger asked. $250, each. $500, for camping on a beach, after walking 1,000 miles, after losing $4,000 to a pawnshop owner, after everything. Roger started laughing. He couldn't help it. It just came out. Harry joined him. They stood there on the peninsula, surrounded by rangers, laughing like lunatics. The rangers looked at each other uncomfortably. "Are you two all right?" one of them asked. "No," Roger said. "We're really not." But they kept laughing anyway. They paid the fine, packed up their tent, walked to the official campground 5 miles north, paid another $20 for a campsite, set up their tent again, crawled inside. Chapter 12. The Turn. "We have $800 left," Harry said. "Total." "I know." "That's supposed to last us the walk back." "I know." "We're not going to make it." Roger lay in his sleeping bag, staring at the top of the tent. He thought about Vincent, about the security job, about the copper wire they'd been stealing, about their room in the boarding house, about the life they'd left behind. "We could call Vincent," Roger said, "ask him to wire us money." "And owe him? No. Then we walk back with what we have. We'll figure it out." Harry was quiet for a long time. Then, "You ever think about just staying somewhere, not going back?" "Where would we go?" "I don't know. Anywhere. We could get jobs. Start over." "We tried that. We always end up back where we started. Maybe this time would be different." Roger thought about it. A new town, new jobs, new names maybe. Just walk away from everything. Vincent, the security job, the copper wire, all of it. But he knew it wouldn't work. They'd tried before. After prison, they'd talked about going straight, about leaving the life behind. But the life always found them. Or they found it. Same difference. "We go back," Roger said. "We finish what we started." Harry didn't argue. They lay in silence, listening to the sound of the lake in the distance. In the morning, they would start walking west, back the way they came. Another 1,000 miles, with $800 and whatever luck they had left. Roger closed his eyes. He thought about the cult, the meth lab, the pawn shop, the rangers. He thought about how every time they tried to do something normal, something simple, the universe found a way to make it complicated. Maybe Harry was right. Maybe they were cursed. Or maybe they were just themselves, and that was curse enough. He fell asleep thinking about copper wire. They started walking west at dawn. The campground was empty except for one RV with out-of-state plates. They packed up quietly, efficiently. They'd done this so many times now, it was automatic. Chapter 13. The long road home. The first day back was harder than Roger expected. His body had gotten used to walking east. Now every step felt wrong, like he was moving backward through time. They made 15 miles before they had to stop. They were both exhausted. The month of walking had taken more out of them than they'd realized. They camped in a rest area, made dinner, counted their money again, $760 after buying food and supplies. "We need to stretch this," Harry said. "I know. No more diners, no more campgrounds. We eat what we brought, and we sleep rough." Roger nodded. It made sense. But it also meant another month of instant meals and cold ground, another month of pain and exhaustion and whatever else the road had waiting for them. They were packing up the next morning when a car pulled into the rest area. A sedan, 10 years old, dented, and dirty. It parked near the bathroom. A man got out, 40-something, thin, nervous-looking. He went into the bathroom. Roger and Harry finished packing. They were about to leave when the man came out of the bathroom. He looked at them, then looked away quickly. Too quickly. Roger felt something prickle at the back of his neck. The man got back in his car, started the engine, drove away. "That was weird," Harry said. "Yeah." They started walking. They'd gone maybe a quarter mile when Roger looked back. The sedan was parked on the shoulder about 100 yards behind them. "He's following us," Roger said. Harry looked back. "Why?" "I don't know." They kept walking. The sedan kept pace, staying about 100 yards back. After another mile, it pulled up beside them. The window rolled down. "You guys need a ride?" the man asked. "No, thanks," Roger said. "You sure? I'm heading west. I could take you pretty far." "We're walking." "That's a long walk. Where you headed?" "Minnesota." The man whistled. "That's real far. You sure you don't want to ride, at least part of the way?" Roger looked at Harry. Harry shook his head slightly. "We're good," Roger said. The man's smile faded. "Suit yourself." He drove off. Roger watched the car disappear around a curve. "Something's wrong with that guy," Harry said. "Yeah." They walked for another hour. The sedan appeared again, this time parked at another rest area up ahead. The man was standing outside his car smoking a cigarette. He watched them approach. Roger and Harry walked past without looking at him. "Hey," the man called out. "You guys sure you don't want to ride?" They kept walking. Behind them, they heard the car door open. The engine start. The sedan pulled out and drove past them, then pulled over about 50 yards ahead. The man got out. He was holding something. Roger couldn't see what it was at first. Then the man raised his hand and Roger saw the gun. "Stop walking," the man said. Roger and Harry stopped. "Take off your backpacks. Put them on the ground." They didn't move. "I said take them off!" The man's voice was higher now, panicked. The gun shook in his hand. Roger slowly unslung his backpack. Harry did the same. They set them on the ground. "Now step back." They stepped back. The man moved forward, keeping the gun pointed at them. He grabbed Harry's backpack with his free hand, started backing toward his car. "Don't follow me," he said. "I'll shoot you. I swear to God I'll shoot you." He threw the backpack in his car, came back for Roger's, grabbed it, backed away. "I'm sorry," he said. "I need the money. I'm sorry." He got in his car and drove off. Roger and Harry stood on the side of the highway watching the sedan disappear. They had no backpacks, no tent, no sleeping bags, no food, no water, no money. They had the clothes on their backs and nothing else. Harry sat down on the ground. He put his head in his hands. Roger stood there, staring at the empty highway. He thought about the $800 that had just driven away. He thought about the 1,000 miles they still had to walk. He thought about Vincent, about the security job, about the copper wire. He thought about how they'd saved for months to take this trip, how they'd planned it, how they'd thought maybe, just maybe, they could do something normal, something that didn't end in disaster. He started laughing. Harry looked up at him. "What's funny?" "Nothing," Roger said. "Absolutely nothing." But he kept laughing anyway, standing on the side of the highway in Michigan with nothing but the clothes on his back and 1,000 miles to walk, laughing at the sheer absurdity of his life. After a moment, Harry started laughing too. They sat there on the side of the road, two men who'd lost everything, laughing like it was the funniest thing in the world. When they finally stopped, Roger stood up. "Come on," he said. "Where are we going?" "West. We're walking home. We don't have anything. We've got our boots. We've got each other. That's enough." Harry looked at him for a long moment. Then he stood up. They started walking. The first hour wasn't so bad. They were still running on adrenaline, still processing what had happened. They walked in silence, their boots hitting the pavement in rhythm. The highway stretched ahead of them, empty and indifferent. By the second hour, reality started settling in. "We need water," Harry said. Roger nodded. His throat was already dry. They'd been walking since dawn and it was past noon now. The sun was high and hot. Without their packs, without their water bottles, they had nothing. They walked another mile. A gas station appeared on the horizon. They headed for it. Inside, the air conditioning hit them like a wall. Roger went straight to the bathroom and drank from the sink, cupping his hands and gulping down the metallic-tasting water. Harry did the same. When they came out, the clerk was watching them. A woman in her 50s, heavy-set, suspicious eyes. "You buying something?" she asked. "No," Roger said. "Then you need to leave." They left, stood outside in the parking lot. Roger's stomach was cramping. They hadn't eaten since yesterday evening. No breakfast, no lunch, nothing. "We could ask someone for money," Harry said. Roger looked at him. "You want to beg? You got a better idea?" Roger didn't. They stood there watching cars pull in and out. Families on road trips, truckers grabbing coffee. Normal people doing normal things. A man came out of the gas station carrying a bag. Middle-aged, wearing a polo shirt and khakis. He walked toward a minivan. "Excuse me," Roger said. The man stopped, looked at them. His expression changed immediately. Wariness, calculation, the instant judgment of two dirty men asking for something. "We're trying to get home," Roger said. "Minnesota. We got robbed. Lost everything. We're just asking if you could spare a few dollars for food." The man's face hardened. "Get a job." He got in his minivan and drove away. "Fuck you, too," Harry muttered. They tried 3 more people, got the same response each time. One woman actually clutched her purse tighter and hurried away without saying anything. "This isn't working," Roger said. "No shit." They started walking again. The highway stretched ahead. Endless. Impossible. By evening, they were 15 miles from where they'd been robbed. Roger's feet hurt. His legs hurt. His stomach was a constant ache. They'd drunk water from 2 more gas station bathrooms but hadn't eaten anything. The sun was setting. They needed to find somewhere to sleep. They left the highway and walked into a wooded area. Found a small clearing away from the road. The ground was hard and covered in pine needles. "This is it?" Harry said. "This is it," and they sat down, and the temperature was already dropping. Without sleeping bags, without a tent, they were going to freeze. Roger gathered pine needles and leaves, piled them up. It wasn't much, but it was something. Harry did the same. They made 2 rough beds and lay down. The ground was hard. The pine needles poked through their clothes. The temperature kept dropping. Roger lay there staring up at the darkening sky through the trees. He thought about their room in the boarding house, the narrow beds with their thin mattresses, how he'd complained about them, how he'd give anything to be in one right now. "I can't sleep," Harry said. "Me neither. I'm cold." "I know." They lay there in silence. Roger's body ached. His stomach cramped. His throat was dry again. He closed his eyes and tried to sleep, but his mind wouldn't shut off. He kept thinking about the man with the gun, about the $800, about how they'd walked 1,000 miles just to end up here, lying on the ground with nothing. Sometime after midnight, it started raining. Not hard. Just a steady drizzle, but it was enough. Within minutes, they were soaked. The pine needles turned to mush. The cold went from uncomfortable to unbearable. "Fuck this," Harry said. He stood up. Roger stood too. They were both shivering. "There was an overpass about a mile back," Roger said. They walked back to the highway in the dark, the rain soaking through their clothes. Found the overpass, crawled underneath. The concrete was dry, at least. They sat with their backs against the support pillar and waited for morning. Roger dozed off eventually, his head nodding forward. He woke up every few minutes, disoriented, cold, miserable. Beside him, Harry was doing the same. When dawn finally came, they were both exhausted, wet, hungry, cold. "We need food," Harry said. "I know. I mean, we really need food. I can't walk like this." Roger nodded. He felt the same way. His body was running on empty. They needed calories. They needed energy. They needed something. They walked back to the highway, started walking west. After 2 miles, they came to a small town. Population 1,200, according to the sign. They found a diner. Stood outside looking through the window at people eating breakfast. Eggs, bacon, toast, coffee. Roger's mouth watered. "We could wash dishes," Harry said. "Work for food." They went inside. The smell of food was overwhelming. Roger felt dizzy. A waitress approached them. Young, maybe 25. She looked them up and down, their wet clothes, their dirty faces, their desperate eyes. "Can I help you?" "We're looking for work," Roger said. "We could wash dishes, clean, whatever you need. We just need food. We're not hiring. We don't need money, just food. 1 meal." The waitress looked uncomfortable. "I'll ask the manager." She disappeared into the back. Came out a minute later with a man in his 40s, balding, wearing a stained apron. "You boys need to leave," he said. "We're just asking for work," Roger said. "I don't need workers, and I don't give handouts." "We're not asking for handouts. We'll work for it." "I said leave. Don't make me call the cops." They left. Stood outside on the sidewalk. Through the window, they could see the manager talking to the waitress. both of them looking at Roger and Harry like they were a problem that needed to be solved. "We're not people anymore," Harry said quietly. Roger didn't respond, but he knew Harry was right. They'd crossed some invisible line. They weren't travelers anymore. They weren't even poor. They were homeless, beggars, the kind of people others looked away from. They walked through the town, found a grocery store, stood outside watching people come and go with bags of food. "We could steal something," Harry said. Roger thought about it. They were both on parole. Getting caught shoplifting would send them back to prison. But they needed food. They couldn't walk 1,000 miles on an empty stomach. "Small stuff," Roger said. "Nothing obvious." They went inside. The store was busy. Roger walked to the deli section, grabbed a package of sliced turkey, slipped it inside his jacket. His heart was pounding. He felt like everyone was watching him. Harry was in the bread aisle. He grabbed a loaf and tucked it under his arm, trying to look casual. They met at the door, walked out together. Nobody stopped them. Nobody said anything. They made it half a block before Roger heard the voice behind them. "Hey, stop!" They ran. Roger heard footsteps behind them, shouting. They turned down an alley, kept running. The footsteps followed. They came out on another street. Kept running. Roger's lungs burned. His legs felt like rubber, but he didn't stop. They ran for 3 blocks. Finally ducked behind a dumpster and crouched there, breathing hard. The footsteps passed. Kept going. Faded away. They waited 5 minutes, then 10. Nobody came. Harry pulled out the bread. Roger pulled out the turkey. They ate right there behind the dumpster, tearing off chunks of bread and stuffing turkey into their mouths. It was the best thing Roger had ever tasted. When they finished, they stayed behind the dumpster for another hour, making sure nobody was looking for them. Then they left the town, walking fast, not looking back. They walked for 3 days without getting a ride. They tried hitchhiking, but nobody stopped. They stood on the side of the highway with their thumbs out and watched cars pass. Hundreds of them. Nobody even slowed down. They stole food twice more. A bag of apples from a farm stand. A package of beef jerky from a gas station. Each time, Roger felt his stomach clench with fear. Each time, he expected to hear sirens. But they got away with it. They slept under overpasses, in drainage ditches, behind abandoned buildings. They were always cold, always hungry, always exhausted. On the 4th day, a truck finally stopped. It was an old pickup, rust-colored with a camper shell on the back. The driver was maybe 60, weathered face, trucker cap. "Where you headed?" he asked. "West," Roger said. "Minnesota. I'm going to Wisconsin. I can take you that far." They climbed in the back. The camper shell was full of tools and equipment. They sat on the wheel wells, holding on as the truck pulled back onto the highway. The driver didn't talk much. When they stopped for gas, he bought them each a hot dog and a coffee. Roger almost cried. The hot dog was gas station quality, barely food, but it was warm and it filled his stomach. "You boys in some kind of trouble?" the driver asked. "Got robbed," Harry said. "Lost everything." The driver nodded. "Happened to me once, long time ago. I was younger than you, hitchhiking across the country. Guy picked me up, pulled a knife, took everything I had, left me on the side of the road in the middle of nowhere." "What did you do?" Roger asked. "Walked. Same as you. Took me 2 months to get home." He looked at them in the rearview mirror. "You'll make it. Might not feel like it now, but you will." They rode in silence for another hour. When they reached the Wisconsin border, the driver pulled over. "This is as far as I go," he said. "Good luck." They thanked him, got out, watched the truck drive away. "That was decent of him," Harry said. "Yeah." They started walking again. Wisconsin was worse than Michigan. The weather turned cold. Rain came and went. They were wet more often than they were dry. They got another ride 2 days later. A woman in her 30s driving a sedan. She picked them up outside a town called Ashland. "I'm going to Superior," she said. "That help?" "Yeah," Roger said. "Thanks." She was quiet for the first few miles. Then, "You guys homeless?" "No," Roger said. "Just had some bad luck." "Uh-huh." She didn't sound convinced. "You smell pretty bad." Roger didn't know what to say to that. It was true. They hadn't showered in over a week. Their clothes were filthy. They probably smelled like garbage. "There's a shelter in Superior," the woman said, "if you need a place to stay." "We're not staying," Harry said. "We're going home." "Where's home?" "Minnesota." "You got family there?" "Something like that." She dropped them off in Superior, gave them $10 before she drove away. Roger wanted to refuse it. They weren't charity cases, but he took it anyway. They needed it too badly. They used the money to buy food, real food, sandwiches from a deli. They sat in a park and ate slowly, making it last. "How much farther?" Harry asked. Roger thought about it. They'd made maybe 300 miles. They had 700 left. At their current pace, walking and hitching rides when they could, it would take another 3 weeks, maybe 4. "A while," Roger said. Harry nodded. He looked exhausted. They both did. The trip had worn them down to nothing. They were thinner, dirtier, more tired than Roger had ever been, even in prison, even during the worst of it. He'd never felt this low. "We're going to make it," Roger said. Harry looked at him. "You sure about that?" "No, but we don't have a choice." They walked out of Superior that evening, found a spot in the woods to sleep. It rained again. They huddled under a tree and waited for morning. The next day they got a ride from a trucker. He took them 200 miles, all the way to Duluth. Didn't talk much, didn't ask questions, just drove. When he dropped them off, they were only 50 miles from home. "We could walk it," Harry said, "in 1 day. If we push." Roger looked at the highway stretching west. 50 miles. They'd walked farther than that in a day before, but that was when they had food, water, equipment. Now they had nothing. "Let's try," Roger said. They started walking. The sun was setting. They walked through the evening, through the night. Their feet hurt. Their legs hurt. Everything hurt. But they kept walking. They passed through small towns, walked past closed gas stations and dark houses. The highway was empty. Just them and the road. Around midnight, Harry stopped. "I can't," he said. "We're close." "I know, but I can't. I need to rest." They found a spot off the highway, lay down on the ground. Roger was asleep within seconds. He woke up to sunlight. His body was stiff and sore. Beside him, Harry was still sleeping. Roger sat up, looked around. They were maybe 30 miles from Capriole. 1 more day, maybe less. He shook Harry awake. "Come on," he said. "We're almost there." They walked the last 30 miles in silence. Their bodies were beyond exhaustion. They were running on something else now. Stubbornness, maybe, or just the knowledge that they'd come too far to stop. They reached Capriole in the late afternoon. The town looked exactly the same. Nothing had changed. It was like they'd never left. They walked through the streets. People stared at them. Roger didn't care. They were home. They reached the boarding house, climbed the stairs, opened the door to their room. Everything was exactly as they'd left it. The narrow beds, the small window, the bare walls. Roger sat down on his bed. Harry sat on his. They'd walked over 2,000 miles. They'd joined a cult, escaped a meth lab, been robbed twice, gotten shot at, been cited by rangers, and lost everything they owned. They were home. "Never again," Harry said. "Never again," Roger agreed. They sat in silence. Outside, the sun was setting. Tomorrow, they'd have to face Vincent, explain where they'd been, get back to work, get back to the life they'd tried to escape. But for now, they just sat there. 2 men who'd survived something they probably shouldn't have, too tired to do anything but exist. Roger lay back on his bed. The mattress felt like heaven. He closed his eyes and slept for 16 hours straight. Roger woke to sunlight streaming through the window. For a moment he didn't know where he was. Then it came back. The room, the boarding house, Capriole, home, chapter 14 coming back. He sat up. His body ached. Every muscle was sore. His feet were covered in blisters. His clothes were filthy, stiff with dried sweat and dirt. Across the room, Harry was still asleep. His face was sunburned, his hair matted. He looked like he'd aged 10 years. Roger stood up slowly. walked to the window. The street below was quiet. A few cars passing. Normal life continuing like nothing had happened. They'd been gone a month. Spent every dollar they'd saved. Walked over 2,000 miles. And for what? They were right back where they started. Worse than where they started. They had nothing now. No money, no equipment, nothing. He thought about the $8,000 they'd saved. Gone. All of it. The copper-wire jobs, the security shifts, the careful budgeting, all for a trip that had ended with them walking home with nothing but the clothes on their backs. Harry stirred, opened his eyes, looked around like he was trying to remember where he was. "We're back," Roger said. Harry sat up, rubbed his face. "Yeah." They sat in silence for a while. Then Harry said, "We need to shower." "Yeah." They took turns in the communal bathroom down the hall. Roger stood under the hot water for 20 minutes, watching the dirt and grime wash away. His skin was raw in places. His feet were a mess. But the hot water felt good. When he got back to the room, Harry was sitting on his bed wearing clean clothes. He'd shaved. He looked more like himself. "We need to call Vincent," Harry said. Roger had been thinking the same thing. They'd been gone a month without explanation. No call, no message, nothing. They'd just disappeared. Vincent was their employer. He paid them for security work and copper jobs, and they'd vanished. "What do we tell him?" Roger asked. "The truth. That we spent all our money on a vacation and got robbed? You got a better story?" Roger didn't. They could lie, make up something about a family emergency or a medical issue, but Vincent would see through it. He always did. The man had a way of knowing when people were lying to him. "We call him today," Roger said. "Get it over with." Harry nodded. He didn't look happy about it. Neither was Roger. They spent the rest of the morning cleaning up, washing their clothes, organizing the room, trying to return to some kind of normalcy. But the whole time, Roger felt the weight of the phone call hanging over them. Around noon, Roger picked up his phone, stared at Vincent's number. His thumb hovered over the call button. "Just do it," Harry said. Roger pressed call. It rang 3 times. Then Vincent's voice. "Roger." "Hey, Vincent." "You're back." Not a question, a statement, like he already knew. "Yeah," Roger said. "We're back." "Where were you?" "We took a trip. East Coast. We should have told you. We needed a break." Silence on the other end. Roger waited. His heart was pounding. "A break," Vincent said finally. "Yeah." "For a month?" "Yeah." More silence, then, "Come see me. Tonight, 8 o'clock. You know where." "All right." Vincent hung up. Roger lowered the phone, looked at Harry. "Tonight," he said. 8 o'clock." Harry nodded. He looked pale. He sounded pissed. "I don't know. Maybe. He definitely sounded pissed." Roger didn't argue. Vincent had sounded calm, controlled. But that didn't mean anything. Vincent was always calm, even when he was angry. They spent the afternoon waiting. Roger tried to read but couldn't focus. Harry paced the room. They were both nervous. Vincent had been good to them, given them work, paid them well, treated them with respect, and they disappeared without a word. At 7:30, they left the boarding house, walked through town to the industrial area on the east side. Found the warehouse Vincent used as an office, the same place they'd met him before. The door was unlocked. They went inside. Vincent was sitting at his desk. Same as always. Neat suit, reading glasses, papers spread out in front of him. He looked up when they entered. "Roger, Harry, sit down." They sat in the 2 chairs across from his desk. Roger's hands were sweating. Vincent took off his glasses, folded them carefully, set them on the desk. "Tell me about your trip," he said. Roger glanced at Harry, then back at Vincent. "We went to the East Coast. We'd been saving money. We wanted to see something different. Take a break from everything here." And it didn't go well." "I'm listening," Roger told him. "Not everything. He left out some of the details, but enough. The cult, the meth lab, getting robbed in Michigan, the pawn shop, the ranger citations, the man with the gun on the highway, walking home with nothing." Vincent listened without interrupting. His face showed nothing. When Roger finished, Vincent was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, "You spent $8,000. Yeah. And came back with nothing. Yeah." Vincent leaned back in his chair. "That's unfortunate." Roger didn't know what to say to that. "You should have told me you were leaving," Vincent said. "I had work for you. Jobs lined up. I had to find other people." "I know. I'm sorry." "Sorry doesn't help me." "I know." Vincent looked at them both. His expression was unreadable. "You're back now. You need money. You need work." "Yes," Roger said. "Then we continue as before. Security shifts, copper jobs when I need you. Same arrangement." Roger felt relief wash over him. "Thank you." "Don't thank me. You're good workers, reliable. Usually." Vincent picked up his glasses, put them back on. "But if you disappear again without telling me, we're done. Understood?" "Understood," Roger said. "Good. You start back tomorrow. Security shift at the mill. 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. Harry, you're with him." "All right," Harry said. Vincent went back to his papers. The meeting was over. They stood up. "Roger," Vincent said. Roger stopped, turned back. "Next time you want a vacation," Vincent said, "ask first." "I will." They left the warehouse, walked back through the industrial area in silence. When they were a few blocks away, Harry let out a long breath. "That went better than I expected," he said. "Yeah. I thought he was going to fire us." "Me too." They walked back to the boarding house. Roger felt exhausted. Not physically, he'd slept 16 hours, but mentally. The weight of the conversation, the relief of still having work, the reality of what came next. They were back. Back to the security shifts. Back to stealing copper. Back to working for Vincent. The trip had changed nothing. They'd tried to escape and failed. Now they were more trapped than before. The next evening, they showed up at the mill at 6 p.m. The security supervisor, a man named Denis who Roger had worked with before, looked them over. Chapter 15. The Reset. "You two look like shit," he said. "We've been traveling," Roger said. Ha. "Well, you're on the North Gate tonight, same as always. Nothing's changed." They walked to the North Gate, the small guard shack with its space heater and folding chairs, the clipboard with the log sheet, the radio, everything exactly as they'd left it. Roger sat down. Harry took the other chair. They stared out at the empty lot. "This is depressing," Harry said. "Yeah. We walked 2,000 miles just to end up right back here." "Yeah." They sat in silence. A truck came through around 7. Roger checked the driver's ID, logged it, waved him through. The routine was automatic. Muscle memory. At 8, Harry made coffee on the small hot plate. They drank it black. It tasted like burnt plastic. "You think about the trip much?" Harry asked. "Sometimes. It already feels like it didn't happen, like we imagined it." Roger knew what he meant. The cult, the meth lab, the highway robbery, it all felt distant now, unreal, like a story someone had told him rather than something he'd lived through. "We did it, though," Roger said. "We made it to the coast. For about 5 minutes before we got sighted. Still counts." Harry smiled slightly. "Yeah, I guess it does." Another truck came through, then another. The night dragged on. Roger walked the perimeter twice, checked the fence line, came back to the shack. Nothing ever happened at the mill. That was the point. They were paid to be present, not to do anything. Around midnight, Roger's phone buzzed, a text from Vincent. "Copper job, Thursday. 2 a.m. Same place as before." Roger showed Harry the message. "Back to it," Harry said. "Yeah." Thursday came. They met Vincent at the construction site on the south end of town, same site they'd hit before. The building was still half finished, still full of copper wire waiting to be stripped. Vincent was there with 2 other guys Roger didn't recognize. Young, maybe early 20s. They looked nervous. "Roger, Harry," Vincent said. "You remember the drill. These 2 are new. Show them how it's done." They went inside. Roger and Harry worked efficiently, stripping wire, coiling it, loading it into bags. The new guys watched, then started helping. They were slow, clumsy. One of them kept dropping things. Quiet, Roger said, and move faster. We're not here all night. They finished in 2 hours, loaded everything into Vincent's truck. Vincent paid them in cash, $300 each, same as before. Good work, Vincent said. I'll call you when I need you again. They drove back to the boarding house. Roger counted the money. $300. It would cover rent and food for a couple of weeks. Then they'd need more. Another security shift. Another copper job. The cycle continuing. He thought about the $8,000 they'd saved. How long it had taken to accumulate that much. How quickly it had disappeared. We're never getting out of here, Harry said. Roger looked at him. What? This, Capriole, Vincent, the copper jobs, we're never getting out. We could save up again. And then what? Take another trip that ends with us getting robbed? Come back here with nothing again? Roger didn't have an answer. Harry was right. They'd tried to escape. It hadn't worked. And now they were back, more desperate than before, more dependent on Vincent's work. We're trapped, Harry said. Yeah, Roger said. We are. They sat in silence. Outside, the sun was starting to rise. Another day beginning, another shift coming, the routine continuing. Roger thought about the highway, the endless miles of pavement stretching ahead, the feeling of walking toward something, even if he didn't know what. For a month, they'd been free, broke and desperate and constantly in danger, but free. Now they were back, safe, employed, trapped. We should get some sleep, Roger said. Yeah. They went inside, climbed the stairs to their room, lay down on their narrow beds. Roger stared at the ceiling. He thought about Sister Margaret and the New Dawn community, about Brother Thomas and his talk of purpose and meaning, about the meth lab and the pawn shop and the ranger with her clipboard, about the man with the gun on the highway. All of it felt like a dream now, something that had happened to someone else. He closed his eyes. Tomorrow they had another security shift, then another copper job next week, then another shift, the cycle continuing, the trap closing tighter. He fell asleep thinking about the coast, about standing on the shore of Lake Michigan with Harry, looking out at the water, that moment when they'd actually made it, when they'd accomplished what they'd set out to do. It had lasted maybe 5 minutes before the ranger showed up, but for those 5 minutes, they'd been somewhere else, someone else. Now they were back. The weeks passed. Security shifts at the mill, copper jobs for Vincent, the routine settling back into place like they'd never left.